we've got our St. Patrick's theme going. Oh, I got my clicker. And we're going to move right along because there's a lot of slides we've got to get through. And then our girl Cheryl's here. Okay, so we're going to get started. Obviously, we want to conduct our business in a TCPA-friendly way. Make sure we're not calling anyone on. Do not call list, whether it is national, local, or the market center. It's going to sink in one of these days, right? Our belief system. How about it? How about let's go for two? Give me two and let's move on. Give me something good.
Win-win or no deal.
What?
Win-win or no deal.
Win-win or no deal? Do we have a win-win? Anyone have a win-win to share with us? Come on, there's so many. Okay, Cindy's got some closing this week. Let's go! Woo! We got folks coming on in. They got good news too. Come on in. I'm excited for Saturday. Anyone coming? Let's go. All right. Make sure we're registered. Make sure our guests are registered by what time? 5 o'clock when?
Today.
Today. Thank you.
Oh, crap.
How about it? Anyone else? What's going on? Any closings coming up? Any closings that have taken place? Sorry, Julie, I'm calling you out.
Don't, because people get mad at me in the morning.
Julia has a good month coming up. We won't say anything, but we're excited about it. So great job, Julia. If you saw her, she just put it up. All right. Talking about Saturday, we have our block party bash. This is our quarter 1 event. If you were here last year in January, it's going to be very, very similar. The events committee, Cindy's here, Jennifer's here, I saw Paul, I saw Ken. They've been doing an amazing job, and that's why I'm super excited for it. Last year was coming off a couple cancellations. We are ready to go. It's going to be amazing. So if you weren't here last year, make sure you're here this year. It's a lot of fun as well. Okay, so some of you have probably seen Madison. She's been around the office a little bit this week. She'll probably be here later today, actually probably right around noon. She's been meeting with some of our agents. I'm very excited about that as well. Things are already kind of feeling different. This is for next week. So I know it was going to be Aubrey's meeting. Now it's going to be Aubrey and Madison. This is a meeting you don't want to miss. So you've had some time, giving you some more time. Next Thursday, please make sure you're here at 11. If you could be here in person, even better, not Zoom. I know we have business. I know we have things going on. This is one you don't want to miss. So definitely be here for that. We kind of took a look at it where you see you're missing it. We're going with the treasure hunt. You're missing over 100 grand. We found this in looking at some of our numbers when we were going through the metrics. I know that commissions are always 100% negotiable, but taking a look at it, know your value. And we're going to be talking about that. Know your value because we're leaving a lot of money on the table, guys. Okay, monthly market mastermind. This is going to be here. So we're excited about that. It's going to be the 20th, which is next Friday. I mean, you know Aubrey. So monthly mastermind with him. Make sure you're here. He's going to be going over all that. Okay, now this one just came in. So this one I want to heavily emphasize. Aubrey has told us, if you don't know who Bob Kalinsky is, he's actually the owner of the North Florida region. He's actually the owner of the Southeast region, which is Atlanta, which is the most profitable center in the country. So this is a gentleman you don't want to miss. We just put this one together, so that's why it's kind of short notice. He will be here Monday the 23rd. Please mark that in your calendar, write it on your hand, whatever you need to do. March 23rd, it's a Monday. I know Mondays can be rough, from 1 to 4. Again, one you don't want to miss. So this is going to be another one, and I'm going to segue to the next slide. Treating your business like a business. You definitely want to hear it from him. He's going to be talking about all of those things, which is going to be an amazing segue right into agent financials, which is going to be with Melissa De Maria. Okay? It will be a perfect segue into that training as well. This is going to be more workshop style, so taking that information and really putting it into application. You'll see there are some different dates. We made some changes. We've got mayor going on. We just want to make sure that everything is there and available for everybody. So Thursdays, April 16, 23, and 30. Another one you want to write down. There's no charge for that. Again, treating your business like a business. Career visioning. Mark Olish will be here presenting career visioning. If you've not done CV before, I highly recommend it, whether you are hiring other people for yourself or whether you're just trying to find the best version of yourself. This is one you want to know. Okay, let's get in some recognition. So top individuals. Here's what I love when I looked at this, guys. I see some new faces kind of sprinkled in there. I see some newer agents. faces sprinkled in there. So that's really exciting anytime we can see that. If you are on either of these two slides side by side, please stand up. Please stand up. Hey, hey. All right, let's go. Slow rises. Congratulations to all of you for the month of February. And top groups, you'll see, yeah, some different names sprinkled in. So again, people are ramping up. Business is looking good. Let's keep it going. If you're on these, please stand up. Hey! Great job, folks. Great job. Okay, congratulations on closed volume. You will see individuals with Miss Julia Wright just shy of the $2 million mark. Julia, congratulations. Top team for closed volume, the guidance Ashley and Grant, just over the $1 million mark. I'm not sure if they're on Zoom, but let's definitely congratulate them. And the Rutherford group with 4.786. Congratulations to the Rutherford group. And for closed units, individual, we've got a tie between Julia Wright and Maria Kuzmina with 5 units. Awesome. The guidance team again with 3 units, and the Rutherford group with 11 units on the month. Well done. Oh, that's exciting. We've got some cappers. Let me see. Oh, I see a couple of them. How about it? Ken and Cheryl, let's go. Celebrate the 100%. That's awesome. And there she is again. Cheryl's up here all day. Let's go. So Cheryl is going to come up slowly while she's coming up. If you don't know, Cheryl is also a licensed appraiser. So definitely someone to listen to when it comes to this. You know in this market how incredibly important it is that we're pricing our listings appropriately. Or what's going to happen? They're going to sit. They're going to sit. We're going to play the drop game. We're going to chase the market. Okay? So it's important that we are pricing things the way we should be and pricing them like an appraiser. Yes?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Let's give Cheryl a hand. And I'm going to step behind her. You can go talk and I'm set up for you.
Thank you. So, yeah, guys, I just, I don't have anything really super fancy to talk about, but I just want to tell you the things that I do over and over and always have as an appraiser and even as a realtor. Just kind of some tried and true, even the little old school things that just can help you back into the number on your listing prices right now. You know, I know it's really tricky. This market is moving so oddly. I mean, like we've been saying that for about 6 years, maybe longer, but maybe 20 or 30. But it really is strange right now to be able to monitor what's happening, isn't it? Does anybody feel that way, that you're just having a hard time getting a handle on the pricing, right? So I want to show you a couple of forms that I've done as an appraiser, and I still do. It was a Fannie Mae form that came out years ago, but it still holds true. Many of my lenders that I've worked for as an appraiser accept it still and require it. It's a market conditions form. It literally is something you guys probably do similar, but for me, I just like this way it lays it out and spreads it out very easily to show you what's been happening over the last year. And then I like to look at what's going to happen, what's coming up. So I feel like as an appraiser and a realtor, if you can learn to be a really good researcher with MLS, you can really be a good professional, right? And I mean, I spend a lot of time as an appraiser. You know, a lot of appraisers will show up to a property, maybe they haven't done any research yet, and they kind of wait until they get there and see what's happening and let's talk about it. I've just never operated that way. I don't like to be the last person to know something when I go in. I don't want to have to backtrack and do things twice and ask questions and I wasn't prepared. So when I go into a house as an appraiser, and especially as an agent, but I really do a lot of legwork up front. And I'm looking at trends already. I'm looking at the house. I'm looking at the history. I'm looking at the street. I'm looking at short sales, foreclosures, and any of that stuff is starting to come around again, guys. You know, those things are happening. And I'm looking at the anomalies and I'm kicking those out if I have to, or I'm paying attention to them if I don't, if I need to. But the thing is about the neighborhood that you're looking at, and you guys all know this, probably nothing that you don't know already. I'm just telling you what I do. But if you don't know about it, they know about it. And you don't want to be the last person to know at that listing presentation that, yeah, the neighbor had a sinkhole, I didn't see that. Or, you know, if it's a short sale going on next door and you pull up and there's a sign in the yard. And so just something that might negatively impact the value of your property, you need to know that going to that listing. And I just actually had a listing presentation the other day, and I wish I'd have thought of this sooner, but this is a lady that I've been talking with for about a couple of months really, but a couple of weeks really about this appointment. And I wish that I'd have asked her to just send me some photographs of the house, just snap a few pictures. And this takes me back to COVID. When I was appraising during COVID, the lenders were really loosening up on what they would accept from appraisers. And so they would even accept us just going by and taking exterior pictures, and they would use that for the report. You can do that and just do your findings based on what you saw outside. And then the homeowners would send us pictures. And they loved it. Like, they literally just are so proud of what they've got, good, bad, or ugly. They want to share that with you. So I kind of wish I'd have said, before I do my research, I need to see what that new kitchen looks like. I need to see what that pool looks like that's been done over. Because a lot of times these sellers, they'll say upgrades, and they use these big terms of, well, I've done all these upgrades. And truthfully, at the end of the day, it's not really an upgrade. You just did something that needed to be done to keep the integrity of the property well, right? So a house that was built 30 years ago, or let's say 25 years ago, that never had a new roof, and they put a new roof on, and then they're quick to call it an upgrade. It's, I mean, that's just builder language, right? It's really builder language, right? So it's kind of the way that the builder's office can differentiate between standard package and, elevated, right? But it doesn't necessarily, you might think when you're doing that preparation for your listing, that I'm gonna go in there and see, man, this thing is gonna be Mac Daddy, they have, and you just can't feel it until you get in there, right? So have them send you a couple of pictures. They just, if I'd have known the kitchen, the bathrooms, and the pool, I would have been able to go, okay, I got it. Or the level of clutter, right? Or some of that stuff you just can't tell. They don't want to talk about it because they don't know that. That's what they do. That's where they live. So anyway, that would have been helpful. So, but I want to just kind of go through multiple listing and just show you just kind of, if you're intimidated by multiple listing, I just think it's such a great tool. There's so many classes at the board. I mean, I know we offer a lot here, but I feel like the ones at the board, I just drove to Lakeland to do my continuing ed for MLS, which was a little overkill, but I wanted to be there in person to talk to this guy, and I ended up being the only realtor there for my continuing ed, or whatever you call it, the update that you have to do in MLS. And he showed me so many new things that I forget how many classes that they offer, online, in person, but it all shows you how to go in and out of these tools. And our MLS is so strong, I just absolutely love it. But, so I was just in, I think the biggest thing too right now is kind of establishing the trend before you get to the house. I was just in an appraisal in Fish Hawk Ranch the other day. It was a relocation, so it's actually doing a lot of forecasting for what's going to happen in the future. That's what those are about. So such an interesting study, because this particular size home, things that were comparable to it, has shown an absolute definitive decline over the last year. Every quarter went down, right? And so I had to forecast what might happen in the next 90 days before this property could get moved by the relo company, and it showed another trend of it going down as well. Now, Fish Hawk is super strong, I'm not saying, but then I went and I studied it out a little bit further, and I looked at townhomes in Fish Hawk, and those showed to be stable. So maybe it's telling you first-time home buyer prices are a little bit more appealing. Those stay steady, So another thing to kind of think about, and something I mentioned at this listing presentation, was she was thinking, I'll put it on the market in a couple of months, and there's things that need to be done. And so out of necessity, she has to wait. But interesting was to talk about the timing for her. And I put it together that if she lists in 4 months and she sells in 2, what's it going to feel like to her if she's closing when school is starting again? Like, she's a teacher, So those dates were just really important to her, because she's just like, oh, I can't, like, school starting, that seems so far away. And so it just developed a little bit of an urgency on, let's get these repairs done now. And, yes, you don't have any inventory in your neighborhood right now. She has 1 listing in there. So I went ahead of time and I looked at that property. I mean, you guys, this is nothing fancy. You guys do all this. I'm just telling you how I was unraveling things. But so I went in and I looked at that listing that was there. It's the only one in the neighborhood for sale. She's had 3 in the community in the last year, and it consistently sells very strong in there. But at this point now, they're all dated. When I did the market conditions research, I found out that it's actually leveling off to almost declining. And so those houses that sold in June, they're just not really good friends of yours anymore, right? They're out of, that's really not what you can look at them and you can use them if you need to. And if that's that kind of neighborhood where you just have to use stuff in that community, then that's fine. But if there's other stuff happening from February, March, January, that's similar, you gotta, that's your new players, right? So, but those homeowners always remember, oh yeah, but that one sold in June for 800, I know, so I gotta be
That's what they
950 or whatever, so you gotta kind of think about that. So anyway, I went into this only listing that was in the community, just to get a handle, so that I'm not the last one, because she knows about it already, right? She might know the people, so she knows the situation, and sure enough, she knew everything about it. So I don't want to be the last one to know all that. So even as an appraiser, if I'm in a community and I'm really uncertain about something on the market, I'll stop in and go visit the model center, or say, call that realtor real quick and say, can I just pop in? I'm just doing some research for an appraisal I'm putting together. And, but doesn't it really just give you, when you walk into something, you can get the feel, can't you? You can just tell. That's what you guys are trained to do, So anyway, but when I got there, it was lockbox. It's totally vacant by now because it's been 188 days with this poor guy. I mean, this agent. So I talked to him beforehand, and I said, listen, I want to know what's going on. Is there something in this community? Is there like something with the HOA? Why is there something with the lot? What's happening that you're not moving? Your price doesn't seem too bad. He's like, oh, it's just absolutely overpriced. And so I walked in, and there's all those flyers in the door. People have come by, and it's just so stale. It's so stale. It's so vacant. And so I'm also encouraging right now, like staging. I really am. It was so stale, and it just screams like, please God, make me an offer. Because there's stuff. Culligan Water's been by, and Zephyr Hills has been there, and the pest control, and it's just, you kind of open the door, and it feels like you can't get in, and it's vacant. It's just not. It's at this point. It's like, but that's the competition. So when I went to the house, she knew, oh yeah, that is just way overpriced. And so this is just kind of leading you to all these clues, So that's what I do as an appraiser. I just love to look at those clues and those cues in the neighborhood to tell you how to get to your price, that all helps you back in. So anyway, but I was, as an appraiser too, we, when we do a market analysis, we're typically looking at what's comparable to what we call the subject property. So if you've got a property that you're listing in Waterset, I did another house in there, so I was going to kind of do some research in Waterset. Does anybody know about Apollo Beach, Waterset? I just literally lost my train of thought. As a researcher, as an appraiser, we are looking at comparable properties. So, a good rule of thumb is, Fannie Mae, by the way, a little side note, Fannie Mae has a really, really good, powerful website. Same with HUD. If you guys ever have questions about what an appraiser might be looking for, or what the underwriting will accept, and you are the lender, right, in the house here, I might call on you for something, but it's a great tool to look at what those requirements are, because as an appraiser, you're trying to stay with what's an apple to an apple, right? And so I notice a lot of times when I go to a home as an appraiser, a lot of people that own the home will be saying stuff like, well, that house across the street, I mean, it's on like Keystone, or it's on the bay, and I'm not, but that went for $950, so I should by default at least be $7. But that's not at all what you do. And so as a realtor, it can get really confusing too, because when you go in and you see, maybe everybody's on the lake and they're all selling for this. I'm not even really looking at those, because a lakefront buyer is, at the end of the day, is a lakefront buyer. They're going to find something where they can put their boat. They're not going to be across the street with a residential view, right? But if that's what I'm appraising, I need to stay in that arena. So that at that point, you're looking for stuff that's just like that. It's not on the water. You don't put it on the water and then take off some deductions and say, okay, well now you're here. You were never there. You've got to stay apples to apples. And so that's really, whenever I go to a house and the realtor will say, I've got these comps, and well, they were all on the lake, or they were all whatever it is. They're not at all similar, and they eliminated all these over here that were comparable to you. That's just, at that point, I mean, it's already, they've given themselves away that it's already too high. They know it's too high. So, anyway, but so having said that, what I was going to say was, as an appraiser, and a Fannie Mae rule of thumb is 20% variance on that square footage, right? And so they're a little bit more liberal on that now for comparable sales, but you're typically going to see an appraiser wanting to establish a trend. So when they come in to a neighborhood and they maybe eliminate something that you might have felt was comparable, there might be a reason to it. So I don't mind when a realtor meets me and says, hey, I just want to show you I pulled these 7 sales, I pulled these 2 listings. Great, I love that. Let's talk about that. Let's say, because, typically they know the neighborhood. I mean, for example, I was in Fishhawk and George Shea. Is it George Shea? Everybody knows he sells a ton of stuff down there. So I can call on George and say, what in the world's going on with this house? And I'm never afraid to do that. Brenda Wade or anybody that sells a lot in those areas. And just kind of talk about it and see what's going on. But it was such an interesting study because Fishhawk has several pendings, and they're just in this price and this square footage range. It was just so weird to see like 3 of them pending at really low prices. And so as part of my research, I'm calling those agents and just what is happening? And they're like, I had to get a buyer. I know I got to get a buyer fast. I can't let it sit. And you can see when Aubrey does those. What's it called, chart masters? Yeah, so those numbers are great because it can tell you the big picture, but as an appraiser, if you know how those numbers got there, as a realtor, you're doing a lot better. Like you can take that and say, oh, but look, this shows we should be here. Well, find out how you got there, because the biggest mistake I notice realtors do when they meet me at a house, they'll say, I got a great CMA, and then it's filled with, 20 properties, and 5 of them are really good. Like those others are just, how did they get in here? And so what ends up happening as a CMA, you just kind of maybe put the zip code in, or you put a big circle with the map, and then it pulls in all this stuff to give you this great average, but truly, it's filled with a lot of things that are actually not comparable. So it's fine, and you might accidentally swerve into the value that way, and that's okay, but it's not a way for you to go back. You need to really be able to go back and say, here's how I actually got here, though. Because when you take that to an appraiser, that's fine, but I just need to see what just happened. Like, that's what I'm looking at. What's going on right now? Unless you're just in a really odd pocket of South Tampa or something, Parkland Estates, let's say. Nothing moves in here very often. So but people know it sold 6 months ago, I don't care, it's worth more now. I mean, that you kind of have to know stuff like that, right? And that's okay to rely on something that might be a dated sale because it's in such a strong community that consistently knows that, right? But for the norm, you really want to be looking at what's coming up, what's getting ready to happen, and what just happened. And so what I was noticing with this study of Fishhawk was that ever since, the last quarter, December whatever till March whatever, it was really, really a big difference in that price. And then the pendings don't show it to be much more promising for that particular square footage range. So, but anyway, I'm just going to show you guys a couple of things that I do to help, and I think, can y'all see all this? Okay. So I thought what I might do is, let's go into the tax card. This is another thing I always do. Whenever I'm going to list something or I'm going to appraise something, I want to see what happened on that street. I don't care, good, bad, or anything. I want to know anytime what happened on the street. And so, guys, give me a street. I can't think of a street.
Willowdale Road.
Willowdale, okay. That sounds kind of like an awful lot is happening there, but, right?
It's in Carroll.
In Carroll, okay, so Willowdale. So, you're going to just, if you're listing something there, you want to see anything that's ever happened on Willowdale in the last year or anything that's pending. I get rid of that 180 because if it's been on the market longer than that, it's not going to pick it up. So you've got 4 actives and you've got 1 that's sold. Okay, so you can go in and this is what I would do. I would literally just, if I'm going to list something there, I just want to see what's going on. Whether it's, because if you just do your research and you only go back 90 days right now and you see what's happening this quarter, but they know about that one a long time ago, you need to know about it. Yep.
So Cheryl, you went back 365 on sold?
I did.
Okay.
Just to find, I'm not maybe using those, but I want to see what's happening anywhere on Willowdale, okay?
And did you include pendings on that? I couldn't see.
I did.
Because you took
I
it
did
down.
pending, and nothing's there, nothing's actually pending, so there's, you got
So
some.
there's actually just two of them then, right, Cheryl?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, yeah, we're coming door to door.
Yeah.
So really just
Okay.
the Willowdale Road, that's a great thought.
Yeah, right, that's a good one. Okay, so we have one that's active, and maybe a manufactured home or something, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure is.
It's
So at
partially
least you're-
development,
Yeah.
and then it's development here, and then it's all like unique homes with lots.
Okay,
So-
different stuff happening, so we have one
Yeah.
sale, right, in Tampa?
That should be.
Okay, so back in October, somebody sold something. And so as an appraiser, I definitely go and I look at all this stuff, right? You're paying attention to all that. If you're on a property like that in Odessa kind of area, maybe you're really looking at that zoning, ASC 1, you know, agricultural, single-family, conventional, 1 unit per acre. So the other way, you want to pay attention to that stuff. I just did one the other day that was zoned commercial general. And it was fine, they got a variance to build something that was residential, but pay attention to that stuff because it makes a difference, right? So I'm even going down here and I'm looking at everything, who sold it, who listed it, seller credit, that's a big deal. So as an appraiser, if this was a VA financing, I would definitely almost always take off for that. So in other words, if it sold for $490, you might see in the appraisal a negative $4,900 adjustment for that concession that got added back in, right? Now, if you find out that it did not make a difference in the final sale price, you can eliminate that. And then Fannie Mae is very forgiving on that. It's not a mechanical adjustment, but if you find that it made a difference in the outcome of that sale price, you need to talk about it. All right, so pay attention. I just did one yesterday and it was $20,000 concession. So I had to call the agent and it was about a roof. So look at that stuff and read all these things down here. That's where you find stuff that's all the interesting part. You know, anything really bad about the neighborhood. Look at the disclosures. Look at what's in here. This is where you'll see it had a problem sinkhole one year. Or, you know, you'll see some weird, funky things. So as an appraiser, I'm probably a little overboard on my research, but I really don't. I don't like to I just need to know all that stuff. Because then when somebody questions you, why didn't you use this sale? You have a really good understanding straight away, because the lender, as an underwriter, they will call you and say, I noticed this one came up and the homeowner gave us this back, we have a rebuttal, or whatever you call that, reconsideration of value, why didn't you put this one in? Oh, no worries, I know why, because this, this, and this, you know? So, how am I on time, Mike?
You're good.
Okay, so I was gonna say, let's just do a little search on water set, okay? So whenever if I'm gonna list a house or I'm gonna appraise a house in water set, well, I'll get to that. I tell you what, let's do this. Let's look back and let's say you have a, I wanna get the trend, okay? I'm gonna look at the trend real quick. So we're gonna go 365 days, we're gonna put in water set. And guys, I've noticed sometimes that it's easy to really get caught up on some of these restrictions, like putting in the zip code and the map and all these things at the same time. Don't get too in the weeds about that because you're going to end up missing something. So in other words, if you put in Waterset and Apollo Beach and 33572 or whatever the zip is, and you put the map on, and the realtor missed any of that, you're going to miss that, right? Because unless the realtor had all that stuff exactly the right way, you're going to miss it. So you're better just saying, there might be another Waterset somewhere in the world here, so let's just put Hillsborough County. All right, so now you're at Waterset, you got 278 sales in the last year in Waterset alone. Let's see if we need to kick out anything to do with the short sales. 3 sold. You see how that switched? It went from 278 to 275. So that means there's 3 properties that sold, 2 properties in Waterset last year that had some kind of financing or, you know, short sale or whatever. And I don't care. I mean, I'm just showing you what, this is a little bit in the weeds, but I'm just kind of letting you back into some of this stuff. So, but let's just say you're listing on Del Coronado, and that's that's the neighbor, you know? So something sold as a short sale back in June, okay? Something sold here as a short sale in October. Okay, so these prices are pretty strong. I mean, maybe it wasn't that big of an effect, but maybe it was. So anyway, but as far as establishing that trend goes, let's take the none, go back in here, Waterset Hillsborough, and let's just say your house is, you know, 2,500 square feet, right? So a rule of thumb would be that 20%. So don't be too terribly tight on those parameters in case you're not getting a lot of properties pop up. You need a representative sample, right? So make sure that you give yourself enough leeway on that square footage to give you that sample that you're looking for, okay? So let's just say you're 2,000 to 3,000, okay? And now you're looking at 170. Well, that's really a lot. Let's just say you don't have a pool, okay? Pools are a big deal in there. Not everybody's got a pool, but it's kind of like a big premium we found. So let's just say you don't have a pool. Now you're down to 141. Well, let's just say you want to be tighter on that square footage. Let's go 2,100 to 2,900. All right, and I think there's new construction moving in there. So why don't we just, you're still at a lot of you're still quite a bit. Let's tighten that up a little bit. Let's say you were built in, 2018. I can't remember when you started, but let's just, so we're going to go down and be 2014 until 2024. Okay, now we're at 63. Did that take off a lot?
Yeah, the-
So that took off a lot. Okay, so now we got our parameters a little bit tighter. So don't be afraid to just manipulate these numbers. Just keep messing with it and finding out what you got. If you had a pool, put that on. And you want to only pull pool sales because it's a really big deal in there. Okay, now you got 24. So you can see the difference in what sells with a pool and what doesn't. 63 without a pool and 24 with a pool. All right, so now you've got something to stand on here. And so you're just going to hit results. And you got anywhere from 340 on that one and all the way up to 659, okay? So what I do is I put these all on one page, 100 on a page, and now that's a pretty good spread there. Do we see any anomalies? Like if you had somebody at 150, let's kick that guy out, right? But everybody's showing up as Apollo Beach, nothing strange. Some of these are in Wolf Creek, which is that southern tip. So let's just hit the whole thing, and then I go down to print, and then, mine usually populates right here, but there's a section called 1004 MC, okay? I think it's report summary. So that means 1004, that's the form that appraisers put their report on, okay? And MC, it means market conditions. So that's going to show me what happened in the last year. So hit print to PDF. I hope this is the right one. There we go. Okay. So that's showing us everything that happened in the last year. This is super generic, super easy to pay attention to. You can go back and switch it again if you need to. But this shows you the time period of March of 2025 until September of 2025. That's a year, 6 months at the beginning of the year. There was 35 sales, okay? This mouse is finicky. 12 listings at that time, 2 months of housing supply at that time, 510 on the median sale price. That's really what you're looking for. It was 68 days on the market was average, right? And then people were selling at 100% of their list price on average, 99 point something. So then the next quarter came along, and that was September until December. Okay, that was 14 sales, and the average median was 488. So it went down. It went down from 510 to 488. And now this most recent quarter, which you really want to be paying attention to, is December 10th until right now. And there was 14 closings and 480. So it consistently went down. Not a whole bunch, but there's enough properties here to show you what's happening. If you have one sale in each category, go back and get more, because that's not going to be a representative sample for you to see what's happening.
And the sale price for list price, that's consistently dropping.
And the sale price, yes, it went down every time it went down. So now we're at about 98. That's the average. That doesn't mean, that's the median. That's what happened the most. It doesn't necessarily mean, or what's median? Is that the one that was in the middle? Okay. There's my teacher. And so, anyway, so there's your form. And so, I've even taken this take it with you. Like, that goes right into the appraisal, by the way. Yeah.
Can you go back to where you got that spot?
Yes.
Where you pulled up the 1004 MC.
Yeah, so when I go back to hit your results, and if you decide to get rid of any of these, I put them all in, but you can not. You can pick the ones you want. But anyway, if you hit them all, then you hit print, because I'm just getting a PDF of it. And then you go down to, now it's here, reports 1004 MC report summary.
But that's not always there, so you'd have to hit that down.
You're gonna have to go and find it.
Yeah, you can go find, there's so many different things you can print, So then you hit print to PDF, and then you can save it right into your drive or whatever and take it with you.
So,
Yep.
I'm sorry, just to go back, so it was the 1004 MC, but then there was two of them, Cheryl, so what was that one called?
Oh, summary.
Summary, okay.
Yeah, there's a, now if you want to go
Report
with
summary, okay.
the big one, you would have a bunch of properties, you know? So let's go back, and you kind of want to make sure before you talk about declining market to a homeowner. I mean, that's like the worst, you know, that's terrifying. So you kind of want to go back, and let's get it a little bit tighter on those parameters if you want to. You can go back, keep your search the same. Now you're looking at, let's look at pools and see what happened. A lot less properties have been moving with pools. There's just either they're not moving or they don't have as many. There's a lot of new construction there without pools. They charge a big premium for those pools in that neighborhood. Any of those, it's really a big price, so you can lean on that. So if you've got a pool property you're gonna list, you better be paying attention really to what the pools are showing, I think. It could be bad, but it could also be good. So hit results for that, now you got 24. And they go as low as $495 all the way up to $748. That $748 is quite a bit higher. It's like, right on that same street as some of the other ones. So if you want to maybe kick that out, you can, but maybe kick that $495 out because there seem to be a little bit of anomalies. They're a little bit lower or higher than the norm, but whatever, let's try it this way. There's 24, you hit the print button, hit your MC.
How do you get that report added into your options of things to print?
It'll be there, and then once you select it, then it'll start coming up for you.
Yeah, so hit your print, I'll show you, you can just save it. This is not on. Okay, so we had 620 at that beginning 6 months of 2025, then we went down to 647.
Up.
Yeah, it went up, and then it went back down again. This last quarter, we're back down again. So we were kind of like higher from September to December, around Christmas time, then it starts to come back down. And so now it's like, wow, 647 down to 592 is quite a bit. So when you start talking about time adjustments, I mean, an easy rule of thumb maybe for a realtor to, time adjustments for an appraiser, they're really different, it's really getting in the weeds and looking at the mechanics of all that, what happened, and which ones are the weird ones and which ones are steady. But as a realtor, you can kind of say that you're not pulling up everything in the water set. You're back here, look at this has your parameters right here at the top. It shows you what you did. So you're 2,100 to 2,900 with a pool. So you're not picking up properties that are not like your house, right? You didn't just do a blanket search, but you have confirmed it's declining. And so what I was gonna say was, it could be expected that was 650 then, now it's 590. That's, what is that, $60,000 difference, right? So you may really want to look at the pendings right now. So if you're going to be listing, I'm looking at these 6 right here. So I'm going to go back now, and I'm going to maybe keep that form with you, but go back to your criteria, and let's just do what happened in the last 90 days, because I'm really concerned about 2026. I don't care really now what happened back in March of 2025. I'm not using that. I just can't justify it unless it absolutely has to be. It's so comparable, it's next door. Well, then you can use it, just make that time adjustment. Make the adjustment for the market, understanding that the market is different then. Because these adjustments that an appraiser makes are always based on market reaction. They're never based on just because we always did it this way and our place is $4,000. I mean, that's just, I know those forms are floating around for you guys, where they give you that information. It's just, it makes my brain hurt because it's not the way it is supposed to be. The reaction to the market and how that feature played in the market is absolutely the way you make an adjustment. Great example, I was just in South Tampa. When you do an appraisal in South Tampa on a tiny little 5,000 square foot lot, not everybody wants a pool because they have no yard. So there's been times I've appraised $1 million property there and they have a pool. But the neighbor was just the same. The neighbor wanted the yard as opposed to the square pool. So it made no difference. There was no adjustment because the market didn't care. The market didn't necessarily have a strong reaction to having a little tiny pool that's the size of a spa and now having no yard. So pay attention to those things. And if you have to call the agent and say, yeah, they kind of really wish they didn't have a pool. They hated to buy that house, but they didn't really want a pool. It's not a big pool, but we did it anyway. It could be anything. Just talk about that stuff. Maybe you find it is a big deal. But there's been plenty of times when I did not make an adjustment for something that the average Joe would say, that the average realtor might say, oh, they're definitely going to need an adjustment for that, right? The fireplace adjustment, The only time I'm ever doing that is maybe Seminole Heights, right? Because everybody does cool bungalows built in the 20s. You know, a 100-year-old home with a fireplace is a big deal down there, right? Maybe South Tampa, Hyde Park, those old houses with a fireplace. You can argue that they expect that. Does the market expect it? That's the big question for you guys to ask. Does the market care and does it expect it to move into that neighborhood and get that feature? And if they do, you put some weight on that, right? So anyway, we're back to 90 days. We had 5 sales. So if I've got a pool and I'm in Waterset and I'm gonna list something, I'm paying attention to all of these, right? So you can literally just go one by one. It's a great study because chances are the homeowner knows about these, right? They saw the for sale sign and the open house, okay? And so I'm just gonna pull it up. I'm looking at everything. And I'm gonna see if you wanna make sure you're competing well in that market, let's look at what it looked like inside. You know, this is super clean, super easy, right? I don't see a lot of clutter. Just go through all that. They've got the pool. And so you're just kind of paying attention. They just have a residential view or maybe a little bit of a woods view in the back. There's the floor plan, guys. So I think that's a really important thing right now, put those floor plans on there. You can have your photographer do one. Keeps everybody understanding, so there's all the amenities. And so I just go through and I look, and so the next one was a 2-car garage as well, 2,400, just closed for 570. Read all this stuff, right? Okay, so back it up. So this one says solar panels right there. Solar panels were paid off at the closing, okay? Solar is super popular in Waterset, good or bad, whatever. You can't pay those off and you're gonna, it's an issue a lot. So also another quick study for you guys is to go into, you can just type in Fannie Mae and solar. And don't be afraid to just Google all kinds of stuff that you're looking for, because if you don't know how it fits in the market, you need to find out. But there is the Fannie Mae selling guide will have this stuff. And there's a little tiny, I wish I could find it. It's a little box that just has exactly what you can include and what you can't. So, and of course it's like nowhere to be found now, guys. I can't remember where I find it. It's not, I've got it saved. But anyway, there's lots to say about it. And they'll tell you, like if they don't own it, you can't value it, right? If it's part of collateral or something, you can't value that. So if you've got a house that's got solar, look into what exactly how they have it structured. Because people don't know, because sometimes they just got hit with a door knock and they signed up for solar. And now they've got some tangled up mess with a lease, you know, they can't move it, nobody wants it, so anyway, but Fannie Mae website is really, really good. The Fannie Mae selling guide is filled with everything that an underwriter has to look at and pay attention to, and those criteria are really good for you guys when you're pricing. So I didn't even take questions, oh my God.
No, you got time, that's why I added that in.
So-
I'm gonna ask the first one because you're
Yeah.
still there.
Okay.
Regarding solar panels, you said you can't put a value on it if it's not owned. If it's gonna be paid off at closing, how does that work?
Yeah, that's fine then. You know, you
Okay.
might even make it subject to, you know, you might be able to even answer that better, but maybe you could make the appraisal subject to the payment of that thing being done. You know, I appraised a house for one of our realtor friends here, and she had solar that was not paid off, but it was gonna be paid off. And so just sometimes that, you know, that's uncertainty about is it gonna be done or not. They already don't know about solar. Maybe it's their first house with solar. It's already so confusing. So the best you can do is get that thing done, paid off, right? And have
Yeah,
that,
definitely.
just be like, make it part of the deal.
Do you give value to that then? If it's paid
Well,
off?
the only way you're gonna give value about it, Mike and I talked about this one time, is that, you know, if the market reacted strongly to it. I appraised a house in Waterset with one, and I found out that after tons of research, there was no difference in the market reaction. So, I mean, not everybody wants the solar, you know, it's hard to sell somebody, you know, $80,000 worth of panels to save $100 a month. It's really, you're dead and gone by the time that stuff ever kicks in, you know? So,
Well, good, we definitely have time for questions, so any questions? Let's go.
yes.
You talked about, you didn't eliminate new construction, so for example, in Wesley Chapel,
Okay.
where you're, you know, you have something that was built
Yep.
early, you know, like 2012, where now you're still competing against new construction. Do you include, do you exclude, is it
You
hard and
can.
fast?
Yeah, you can.
What
Is
is
it in a neighborhood where it's mostly new construction now?
No,
Okay,
it's
so
one of those older existing,
Yeah.
but you go 3 miles down the road, you find the same thing for new construction, so
the same product or the same price?
same product, similar,
Yeah.
same square footage, 3-car garage, the whole, you know.
Okay,
whole
so
story.
if you're in it, you probably, if you're 2012, I mean, that's 14 years old now. So yeah, you can use the new construction if it's littered all the way through the community and the community reacts the same to the new construction, absolutely. But you'd have to be really in good shape probably to compete well with that new construction. Have you replaced the roof, anything new? You know, is the price reflective of the difference? Can the market just walk in and get that new construction easier than what they can with you? You know, so sometimes it's funny, sometimes you find in South Tampa especially, those resales sell higher than the new construction in those areas sometimes. The resales are done, they're already ready, they're established, it's a different kind of market, it doesn't always get the same reaction that you think it might. So, anyway, after
So you would
that,
go through the same step.
I would probably do the exact same step, yeah, eliminate that new construction. Yeah, we didn't even do the new construction water sets, we did a lot, sorry.
So my question is about when you're doing evaluation and appraisal, as far as flood zones, does that affect the value? Or do you?
Yeah, I mean, you can see, isn't there a place down here
There
for
is.
flood zone?
Yeah.
Okay, so flood
But
zone.
what if you, you know,
Yeah.
does that actually come into play with you?
Yeah, it does, you know, I mean, I appraised a house in South Tampa, and it was along West Shore, and everybody's been flooded, and so, you know, this place had been redone and fixed, and she was fine now, but that stigma is still kind of there. So I try to stay in the Beach Park 33609 market a little bit, and so that I can pull those up. So yeah, if you look at that, pull it up AE in 33609 and 33611 and 33629, all of those South Tampa zip codes.
But what if you don't get something to compare it to and you have to compare it to? Are you going to give that a value? Like
No, not necessarily. It's best rule of thumb, if you don't know how to make an adjustment, if you don't know the difference, stay with the thing that you are then. So that you don't have to get into the danger of trying to say, this is zone X, this was AE, this got flooded, this will never flood. Like, try to stay with your AE stuff if you can. Even if you have to go out a little bit in space, or in distance, because the market knows that down there in South Tampa right now, right? They're looking at that, yeah. So,
The backyard views matter. So
Yeah.
conservation pond versus
They
a neighbor
do.
right over your fence.
Yeah, they do matter, you know, I mean, not all the time, again, you always gotta say it depends. But if, you know, I had a call from an agent the other day, we were talking about something very similar. She was on a lake and really felt like it would be this price, but the market just wasn't quite there, and so you need to show where that happened though. So in other words, if there's 3 houses that sold with conservation and 3 didn't, and there's a big difference in that price, and you had conversation with those agents and they all said, oh, absolutely, that conservation was the thing that sold it. Okay, great, let's put some number on that. Let's pay attention, but you're really gonna go and compare those. If they're the same home and the only difference was that conservation, yeah, was it 50 grand different? Was it $75,000 different? What was it? And then you can pull your weight over there. But if you find there's no difference, they all did the same thing. I mean, it's a great example because I sold a house once in West Chase area and they had this beautiful conservation and this beautiful pond with no fence, but it was gorgeous with a pool. But it's a very it's a very kid-driven community. So nobody would buy the property they were worried about little kids being out there. And it really made, at the end of the day, it actually was a deterrent. So be cautious of that. If you're in a place where there's no fence, there's no way to have a fence or whatever, they don't want a fence, and they've got little kids, and there's tons of kids that buy in there, you'll see those residential views move over and over again. They don't want the pond in the woods. They don't want that with their kids. So it's not always a certainty. But again, back to the research, pay attention, go look at all of those details. And don't be afraid to call the agents and find out why that happened, you know, because I could not understand it. We had this listing for longer than it was just the goofiest thing. And I kept thinking, what is wrong with this view problem? And then somebody else would have a sale with a barn behind them looking down over their property, a residential view, but they had a fence and they had a yard and they had no worry about letting their kids or dogs out there. And that won at the end of the day, right? So, yeah.
And I know, you know, like going back to the older homes, I asked you, I've got one coming that's got a casita, you know, and how you do it, and it's Seminole Heights, and taking out
Okay.
the new construction around it, because, you know, there's knockdowns and new construction, and this is a 1923 home, so we would said,
Yeah,
try to grab some with pools,
yep,
or.
some kind of similar outdoor feature. Yeah, I mean, do you care if I pull it up on the tax card, or do you want to keep it?
Yeah,
yourself?
no, it's mine, it's
Okay,
mine.
All right, I was gonna say, yeah, that's another thing really quick, do we have a second, Mike, to show how that goes? So that's another thing, she talked about having a casita or some kind of detached thing, which you might have in Seminole Heights, you might have that in South Tampa, might have it in South St. Pete. So, a lot of times the tax card lumps those two numbers together, which is really, really confusing. So make sure that you differentiate those two. And sometimes, you know, if it's a 3,000 square foot house with a 500 square foot apartment, they'll put the whole thing together, so now it's 3,500. Well, really, it's not. In terms of an underwriter, they are not gonna value that whole thing the same. They're separated out, and you need to make sure that you separate them out. Yeah,
So while she's looking that up, so on that issue, so if you've got the West Tampa, you know, Seminole Heights where somebody's enclosed a carport,
Yeah.
not showing up on public records,
yeah.
what are you doing with that in terms
Yeah,
of value?
so as an appraiser, you know, I'm not like the code enforcement, so for me, I've got to, you know, I can just look at what I can see, but if you go into a house where they have, obviously done something that defies that zoning, you need to be cautious of that, get that corrected if you can. But if it's like a converted garage, and it happens all the time, town and country, you know, everybody's got a converted garage, or they've got a converted carport, it's very common there. So the market actually really enjoys that, they like having something with a second entrance and all that. But as an appraiser, if you go in and it's finished off professionally, and maybe they pull permits, and it blends well with the remainder of the home, and you can go from one thing to another and don't even remember that there was a two-car garage there, that's great. But if it's a step down and it's different quality and Cousin Joe fixed it up and it's under code.
Still showing
Yeah, like it's
a
just.
carport on
Exactly.
property
The
records.
appraiser might at that point say, you know what, the highest and best use of that house or of that property is really to have a two-car garage. So I'm gonna call for it to be a two-car garage, or I'm gonna make it a cost to cure, which is fine, because in other words, I'm giving it credit like it's a two-car garage, its original configuration. Because sometimes when you convert a garage, well, you've just lost your garage space now. So now you've got an extra 400 square feet, but you have no garage. Or Sun City, where you'll see all those enclosed porches in the back. And you got, somebody went in and enclosed that porch and made it a really living area, and it truly blends, and it's now been recognized by the county as being a living area. But they have no porch, and it's a retirement-driven community where they want a porch. So what, you know, you gotta kind of weigh that stuff out. Did you just shoot yourself in the foot, or do you have a feature that the market will respond to positively?
Do you want the address?
Yes,
Okay, 4109 North Seminole Avenue.
okay.
Real quick on that,
Yes.
when you're talking about with permits and no permits, I've looked at it and I've got from other appraisers, if it's not permitted, you're probably not getting credit. There's value to it to the buyer, but it's not gonna show up on the
Maybe so, yeah.
That's.
You need for an apartment in the back?
No, I'm just talking like enclosed
Like
garages.
enclosed property.
Oh,
or
yeah, yeah.
enclosed, you
Yeah,
know,
like if
porches.
it's better off being a garage and truly the, you know,
There's
yeah,
no real value.
Yeah.
If it's not permitted.
Yeah.
And then you've got to see what the community.
exactly.
So how about if something is permitted but done really well up to standards?
Yeah, it's
Will you
there.
still give it value?
Yeah, if
Okay,
it's
if not
recognized in the county, yeah, absolutely. Or I'll just talk about it and explain it in appraisal where I say, you know, but, you know, this is what I've noticed in the market, is this and this and this. I mean, a good appraiser will really go into some detail about stuff like that, because you're really, at the end of the day, trying to satisfy that underwriter, that lender, if that's who you're working for, you know. And if they, you know, that's what you're working towards, is making it understandable for them. And, but yeah, you can explain it, but I think if it's finished off in the same manner, I absolutely will. And I'll explain it, just say, hey, it used to be this, now it's this, the county's got it in there, it appears to be done in a professional manner, blah, blah, blah.
So hold on,
Yep.
but what do you mean the county's got it in there?
Like the county is in the sketch, right?
But if it's not permitted,
Oh, it's not permitted, I think it's not permitted, I'm sorry.
no, it's okay.
If it's not
It
permitted,
just depends on the appraiser, like if it's done to the condition, like up to par, up to standard, it's straight, but it's not permitted. will you give it?
Nope, probably not.
No, okay.
Probably not. If you know all that going in, you know, and you're seeing that it's maybe not the professional quality that it is, you have to talk about it and get pictures of it and measure it. But
So there's a value to the buyer possibly, but the appraiser is.
exactly, right. I even had a second kitchen in the house, and the underwriter didn't like it so much that they had me call to have that kitchen taken out.
Oh, wow.
And they had to go take out the second kitchen in the ground floor of a big front property. And then they just took it out, put it right back in when they,
Does that happen often?
no, but not as much really.
Sorry, Cheryl, we got about a minute or two left.
Okay, Julia, so this house here for Julia, yeah, so, okay, there's your other place. So here's is that too big? Sorry. I have to see really good. All right, so we can see what in 2022, 585, there's the site, there's the place, and then this county actually separated these two out. So look at these codes. You can click on this sketch, take this with you when you go to a listing. So this is showing us that the base is 616, the second level is 2, that means the second floor is 336 feet. Then this finish enclosed porch in the back is FEP, that's 240, and then another finish enclosed porch at the front, okay? So, I'll get back. So anyway, then on the back, that's 1,700 square feet total is what they've got. So they included all of that, right? They included the base and those 2 enclosed porches, so maybe they're all living areas. So you see FEP, that traditionally means finished enclosed porch, so it's a little bit of a less quality than the remainder of the home. But in this case, the county included it all, okay? So you'll see when you get there, it's probably all done the same, right? And then you've got your place back here. This is your casita that she's talking about. That's 324 square feet. That was built in 1920. And then the home was also built in 23. So maybe that was first, right? Okay, and then they built this house. But nonetheless, that's a big deal. And then here's all your permits. Look at all this stuff before you go on a listing too, guys. Shingles, wiring, water heater, blah, blah, blah. 52 by 140 is your lot. There's your zoning, Seminole Heights, residential, single family. Okay, so you got a fireplace. Maybe that's a big deal. It was built in 1997, it was added. So maybe that's a big thing because it's now a 1920s bungalow with a fireplace. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna call this a 1,700 square foot home with a 324 square foot cottage, or whatever you wanna call that. But I'm not putting them together, and it's a 2,000 square foot house. That's not what it is. Yeah, and so if you do a floor plan too, with your photographer, they'll have all that in there, and they'll label it casita. You need to get that very clear, because somebody buying what they think is 1,700 is not buying something that's 2,000, or God forbid they're buying the 2,000 they think, and actually they're separated, and they don't care about the casita, they just want a 2,000 square feet. Well, now they don't have that all under one roof, right? So pay attention to that. But I always take this whole thing with me as an appraiser. I cut and put that right into my clipboard thing or whatever, your iPad, and I take that with me because I want to see what they have compared to what the county thinks they have. That's a huge thing, right? So you can walk in there and go, well, what was that FEP I saw? Oh yeah, we got rid of that. That's no longer here, and we got rid of the one in the back. Okay, well now I know you've got rid of 240 square feet plus 180. So now I know you're only this, right? That happens all the time. So, but you were thinking, oh, it's this. So if you measure it or have somebody measure it or get that cubic casa measurement from your photographer, you'll have a really good approximate number on your square footage. And they'll differentiate where those two, how they're set up, you know. Yeah.
Okay, all right, so Cheryl's gonna hang about, we're gonna get ready for lunch. Guys, this was awesome. If you've done this before, that's awesome, but I think you probably got some nuggets, because I certainly did, things that I've never seen. So let's give Cheryl a hand. Thank you, Cheryl. Okay, all right, thank you. So our lunch has been sponsored by Life Today, and Richard is here with us, so I'm gonna ask Richard to come on up. Come on up, Richard.
We're gonna keep this quick. I know lunch is served, so two things I just really wanted to chat about today. One is how many of us are aware that rates are actually increasing? All right, so we have a lot of geopolitical issues going on right now, specifically over the pond, right? In Iran, there's a war going on. So what's driving those rates right now is actually fear of oil price inflation. That's causing mortgage rates to rise a little bit. The best way that we can do to combat that is seller credit. Right? We can get temporary buy downs. We can get lower buy downs on rates. And the temporary buy down allows the customer to have an introductory rate up to 2% lower for the first year. So if rates are 6.375 today, for the first year of being in the home, they can get a rate of 4.375. So we can go ahead and help them save money there. And the other thing I wanted to chat about was what we talked about last week with buyer bot and closing table. Guys, I just want to reiterate, even if you're not using me, if you want your buyer to have an accurate picture of what their closing costs are going to be and what their payment is going to be, feel free to reach out to me, use me as a resource. I'm here to help you. Okay? That's all. Go ahead.
What are the rates today?
About 6.375-ish, and about a week and a half ago, we're about 5.99.
On an average $400,000 house, what does that 2 points cost a seller to buy down?
I mean, it would depend on the mortgage amount, right? So for the first year and 2%, I mean, you're probably talking, they're putting 20% down. They're probably saving about $400 a month in interest, maybe less. I mean, a rough estimate, I mean, 2-year buy down would probably cost, I don't know, $70,000 and something like that. I can get a more better accurate picture, but off the top of my head.
Say 70?
Sorry? 70, yeah. 70 grand to save $400.
Is they give me like it's 1% per point, or 1% buy down?
Correct, so if they do a 2-year buy down, the first year would be 1% or 2% lower.
Yeah.
And then the next year it would increase to 1%, and then it would lock at the rate that we locked in as technically 6.375%. And the benefit to that really quick is that if they refinance prior, since you're using seller credit, if they refinance prior and they have money left over the prepaid interest, they can actually get a chunk of that back.
Is there any wait time so they can refinance?
They can refinance whenever they want. Yeah. I ask for like 6 to 7 months because if the loan's paid off prior, I get to pay back all my commission, which no one wants to do.
Right.
But they'll be able to use those funds either as a principal rate reduction, or they'll get a check back for the seller credit of the unused portion for unpaid interest. So, huge benefit, yeah.
All right, so Cheryl's here, Richard's here, anything you need? All right, guys, lunch is served, thank you all, and again, please mark it in your calendar, be here next Thursday, 11 to 12. Awesome, good to see you guys.
She did great.